Today I'm drawing Cosmic Garou from One Punch Man. This is one of the most detailed and challenging character designs I've worked on recently. I could have done a much better job with it. I actually made enough mistakes that when I look at it, I can tell I messed up badly, and I'm not sure if other people recognize that based on understanding that I'll not shade everything a lot recently, or I'll outline shaded areas. So let's say the sketch of him here was mostly a silhouette, and it was heavily shaded to where the shading was had a lot to do with how everything appeared at all. To the point where there's parts of him that were pitch black, or a lot of parts of him that were pitch black, because the actual image reference I was using was him with not good lighting in front of him, or that's like his aura coming off him that makes him look like that, right? And I actually don't know enough about the show to actually know anything about this form of Garou, but I'm assuming it's a powered up form or an alternate version of him or a state he goes into or whatever, right? Based on who he is and what abilities he has in the show. But what happens is I could have done better, and I made some mistakes. And if I had shaded more, I could have made the shading could have helped clean up some of those mistakes as well, whatever, because I would have shaded over them literally. But I still just need to get better, right? That's like the main point. You get better, you don't even make the mistakes, but give it time and keep building at what you're doing, right? The combination of anatomy, energy, effects, and sharper organic shapes makes this a really fun character to draw. I'm starting by blocking the overall pose and major body shapes. With a character like Cosmic Garou, I'm probably not pronouncing it properly. Getting the pose right early is extremely important because so much of the design depends upon movement and silhouette. Right now, I'm focusing on structure rather than detail. Oh, and another word for movement I should probably say is he's in a dynamic pose, as if he's about to move, or he could have even been within a movement pattern, right? Because that's like usually the poses he's portrayed in his fan art, I guess, right? Usually not standing straight, like with his arms down by his sides in like a normal stance. He's usually in a martial arts pose. Next, I'm refining the anatomy. Even though Cosmic Garou has heavily stylized appearance, the underlying anatomy still needs to feel believable. I'm paying attention to the shoulders, torso, arms, and overall body flow. Now moving into the head, the face is relatively small compared to the rest of the design, but it's still an important focal point. I'm working on creating that aggressive, intimidating expression that makes Cosmic Garou recognizable. This is where the drawing starts becoming more complex. Not exactly where I am in the actual sketch footage, but I'm just reading off. Would eventually get there if I'm not there yet, right? The energy, like structures and armor details, are some of the most important, unique parts of Cosmic Garou's design. Rather than drawing random spikes, I'm trying to think about how each shape contributes to the overall silhouette. Also, is it placed exactly where it needs to go in the silhouette based on the reference, or if I'm not using a reference, like does it make sense? If it doesn't make sense, is it accurate to the how the character appears? Am I not just and that's another thing, even when you're using a reference, the thing is, because you're not tracing, you're still there's parts of it that you might be winging unless you're just very good at getting everything exact. So the thing is, how let's say you're given more wiggle room or more choice of how you're going to draw any part of a character or any area of literally the photo that's or the picture that you're drawing of them. Like, are you kind of like based on what I just said? Are you is it making sense um realistically or making sense based on the laws of maybe the type of character you're drawing and what world they're from? So like characters anatomy in this world are like this or like that, and are you is what you're choosing to draw when you see something from a reference and then you draw it on paper, are you drawing something that makes sense to that world and also makes sense to that character? And then also, is it being pieced into what you're drawing properly so that, the art comes out the way that you want it to look? Then obviously, all that comes back to obviously not that you have to do it like this, but I always say start with the skeleton with the ball joints and then the muscle, kind of the idea that what the musculature would have been over that, and then drawing everything on top of that. And even if it's not exact, as you can actually see in a lot of these long form sketches I do, I'm literally is usually maybe the head, and because literally start with the ear every time, that's usually at least somewhat exact. And then as I branch out into the rest of the body, it's usually not even following the skeleton, but the fact that I had the skeleton there, I was, whether it's consciously or unconsciously or subconscious, whatever, I'm trying to actually root all of it together. So whatever I'm placing on that character, uh, it's automatically going to, over time, as I keep starting with that root first and then building out from there and then trying to link it together, even if it doesn't, there's times where you see the arm from the skeleton was in one place and the actual arm of the character was literally not even over it. It wasn't even over it. Like, it wasn't even partially over it. The arm could have went somewhere else, or the arm was way bigger and placed somewhere else, right? But what happens is the fact that I tried is helping me get everything about the character correct from from what I'm drawing, whatever. Because I at least tried the root somewhere, and then that helped cause a chain reaction where it was helping me root everything else into place, even without even following the skeleton, which is why that's so important. And even if you're not doing that and you're doing this in pen, so you maybe don't want to erase, well, in your drills when you're doing these same sketches or similar sketches or however you do it over again, at least do the skeletons there and build out from there, so that you're just getting practice with rooting everything together so that it can make sense or obey the anatomy of the actual character or obey the anatomy of the cartoonistic world that that character comes from, whatever. And you just get better at that, right? But again, the actual skeleton helps do all of that without having to say, oh, here's how to draw like this flap on this person's coat, which is like an extra flap that was near like um the person didn't have their coat zipped up, and so it was open and there was maybe flaps instead of drawing the flap, or instead of that wrinkle in the sleeve as his arm was coming down the side, and you made sure you got all the wrinkles correct and all the, the way the clothing was disheveled or the way the hair, instead of having to worry about how do I draw like a wrinkle or a flap, or we'll just try to root everything together properly from the start, and then you'll, even if you need to practice with drawing a wrinkle or a flap or a hair strand, at least you're going to place it correctly. So then and you placing it correctly can do a lot more than you having to actually draw it correctly, because you drawing it correctly is something you're going to build over time as well. You just have to give that time, obviously, right? All right, so now I'm refining the details and strengthening important areas with highly detailed characters. It's easy for everything to blend together. I'm trying to create enough contrast in the line work so the detail remains reasonable. I'm going over the major outlines and adding final touches. The goal isn't perfection, The goal is creating a strong finished piece that captures the energy and intensity of the character. Overall, this was one of the most ambitious sketches I've completed recently. I also made a ton of mistakes. There are definitely areas I improve, but I'm happy with the final result. The drawing challenged my anatomy, detail work, and overall control more than any of my previous sketches. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe for more and follow for more anime uh, drawing content. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next sketch.